See here. All right. Okay, let me get my screen share going and we'll get started here shortly. I'd love for you to drop in the chat how you're doing today and love hearing how boot camp has been going for you. What's been your takeaways so far? Good morning, Mary Vaughn. Love the greetings. Welcome to everyone just joining us. Happy to have you here. We'll get started here in just a moment. Welcome, Diana. Morning, Tracy. Loving all the greetings. Thank you all. Okay, so we are here for day 3 of blogging boot camp. And I usually like to start off just by quick temperature check how people are doing, how things are going for you. Give me a 5 if you're absolutely loving everything we've been doing so far. Give me a 1 if you're like, meh, it's going okay. See a 5 from Diana. Thank you. Love it. Love it. 5 from Tracy, 5 from Caroline, 5 from Deanna. Awesome. 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 Fantastic. Awesome. So we're on day 3 of 4 days, and I know we've got a variety of levels of background in terms of blogging. So you are welcome regardless of where you're at, whether you're still at the like I just want to maybe think about starting a blog, or you're at the I feel stuck because I can't get the traffic I want or the monetization I want. You are in the right place. So let's just go over where we've been so far. So day 1, we talked about getting focused, getting clear on why you want to blog, why it's so helpful to be a blogger, its benefits to you, how to find your voice, how to listen to what your people want and need, how to hear them even before you have a specific audience yourself, to hear what your audience, your future audience wants and needs. If you missed that, the replays are in the course platform, so you can grab those. They'll be live until Tuesday. And then day 2 was gaining traffic. We talked about some different things that you can do to start to get traffic, because Google does weird stuff and the algorithm changes and all kinds of things we cannot control. But when we create a quality site, when we have authenticity in what we're creating, when our voice is heard, when our clarity, our focus is there, you're going to survive any hiccup or glitch in the algorithm because you've got a quality system, you've got a quality platform. You may need to shift how you're getting traffic or what you're doing a little bit, but you've got a firm foundation that's going to weather any storm. So that is why we talk about traffic in the way that we do. We started to talk a little bit about SEO as well and some of those foundational concepts for SEO. So I'm hoping that you guys enjoyed that and got a lot out of that. So today we're going to talk about the key steps to blogging success. We're going to look at what effective blogs do and how you can become successful. And then tomorrow we're going to talk about momentum and gaining momentum, because that is when success comes more easily and it feels more natural and it honestly feels more fun. So day 1, again, we talked about getting focused, evaluating the effectiveness of blogging, understanding your why, hearing what your people need. We used Amazon to help us. We talked, like I said, traffic. Day 2, getting started, SEO, easy topics, how to start building that foundation that's going to be a firm foundation for your blog so you get more traffic over time. And now day 3, we're going to talk about the process that effective blogs follow, how you can create a blog that stands out from the crowd, the secrets to delivering real results in your blog, guidance to implementing those strategies, and ratcheting up your effectiveness. Now, if you recall, we talked about the strategies that kind of cause a lot of blogs to fail, where they start and stumble. And you want to instead go to where you are starting stronger, getting faster results. So that is where we are headed with what we are doing today. So what goes into a successful blog? Anyone want to take a gander? What do you feel like? If we broke it down to say 3 main things, what goes into a successful blog? Now, I've worked with bloggers for over 1,000 hours and had lots of opportunity for especially early bloggers to help them kind of find their path and figure out how to build systems and get started and gain confidence and get over the mindset issues that are so common. And I found that everything kind of narrowed into sort of these four categories: build, outreach, sharpen, and sell. So great content, says Wayne. Tangible passion for the subject, says Tracy. Yeah, those are all really great. Niche specific, says Caroline. Yes, yes. So if we break these into the four things, so build, outreach, sharpen, and sell. Build is the first one, and that's where you lay the foundation. Now, what we've been doing the last couple days is we've been showing you just a hint at some of those foundational things that when you get them right, it helps you so much to become more successful, quicker, faster as you go forward. So one of those things is a core message, having a really clear message, being clear on your niche, who you help, how you can be effective. And picking what you focus on is kind of that first initial step. And so we create that focus by being clear on who is our audience. How do they need help? How can we help them? What problems keep them up at night? What are the things that like they really need resolved so that they can feel like they're moving forward? So having a core message and having that audience reader focus is so important. Give me 1 second here. So what, don't know why it's pulling an old version, but we may just roll with it. So here we go. Bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to switch slideshows. I queued up the wrong one, but it will be worth the short delay to get this swapped out. So, all right. And soon as it loads. Okay, sorry. 1 moment, please. And all right, so we'll get going again. So we talked about that focus, and that focus, you guys, is so important. I know we kind of have been talking pretty specifically on that for the last couple of days, but it really does make a big difference, and it just makes it easier. Like that's, I know a lot of times we have a hard time deciding, and then we're not sure if we want to be all in on a particular topic or a particular thing. But as you start to get that focus and get that clarity, that's where you start to win. That's where you start to have things become and feel easier, because there's less work involved. There's less to it. You've got that focus, like I said. So, all right. So picking what to focus on and how to create focus, we've talked about. So we talked about what goes into a successful blog. So you've got your core message, you've got your audience focus, and then it's all about expectations. We're solving problems for specific people. The best blogs do this. They look really specifically, because if you think about it, if you're doing like one how-to kind of a post, you can answer that question, you can solve that problem. But then if you think for a moment, well, what other things does this then, if we peel back the onion layers, what other things do they have problems with? What other questions come up after they've dealt with this initial question? When you can start to go from post to post to post and sharing, like, here's the next thing you're going to want to know how to about. Here's the next thing you're probably going to have a question about. That's going to help them solve their problems more quickly, more easily. So creating that audience focus where you're focused on what they need help with, and then creating great content that is really helpful for them, that is all part of that core message. So we talked about emotional trigger headlines. That's where you're taking that little bit of extra effort to create content that your people want to be clicking into, that where it's not just like, read about this thing, but like, hey, mind-blowing ways to get over this, solve this problem. Like you just naturally are a little more inclined to click. So that's part of that foundation, getting content that is really great and people want to learn about. So the next layer is outreach. So outreach is where you're growing an audience. It covers everything regarding building an audience, engaging with them through email, through social media, but building those connections with your audience. So this involves both new traffic that you bring to your site initially, and also returning traffic. And so these are really great ways to keep your blog momentum going, because that traffic is so critical. And I think a lot of times we don't put enough emphasis on returning traffic, but that can be a huge, huge boon for your website because you're going to have better success, especially if you're like a coach or someone who sells products or that sort of thing. You've already gotten your people warmed up to who you are, how you help them, built that know, like, and trust factor. So that returning traffic is going to give you higher dividends. Compared to, always having to bring fresh new traffic in. And ultimately you want and need traffic. When you have great content that's audience focused, you need to then get the content out to your people and email them and add new people as you go. So lots of traffic. Traffic can come in a multitude of ways. At its core, you're wanting to help people to find your blog. You're wanting to help them to get to your content as quickly as possible. And you do that with lots of great content. Because obviously if there's not a lot of great content, there's, not a lot to keep them there. So, we're not talking just about any traffic though. You want to follow a process to get highly interested people looking at your content. You want to create a blog that stands out from the crowd and that uncovers the secret to getting real results. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about these key things. These are the things, when you build this part right, you get traffic that's meaningful. You get return traffic because they're finding that value, they're seeking that value, they're discovering how you are their person. So while we are talking about traffic, you want the slow and steady kind of traffic as well, because that's the stuff that's going to build over time. So remember we talked about SEO and we talked about the safest shampoo for kids and this Google search. So there's lots of different ways that you can get traffic. Using Google to its full advantage is one great way. And that means using the search results to see what comes up. What is Google expecting? What do people expect? What do people want to see? And creating content that reflects that. We also talked about keywords, and knowing how to pick keywords is going to be important for your ongoing success. But again, you don't need this mastered on day one. You can keep improving over time. So sharpen, we're kind of leaning a little into sharpen here now. Sharpen is all of the stuff you do to amplify, to reach more people. So a lot of this has to do with implementing strategies and systems and focuses to ratchet up your effectiveness, to take your blog to the next level. This also includes your SEO stuff. When we look at doing things like, okay, how can we get more focus to what we're doing? How can we get more clarity on what we're doing? How can we get better keywords? That all fits into that category. So we talked about hiking, right? And I'm intentionally bringing back some of the concepts we've talked about in previous days because I think it's important to remind ourselves, oh yes, we did talk about that. Oh yes, that's how that relates to this bigger picture of growing my website. And so hopefully this is resonating with you. So when you're able to be consistent, you're able to create some content that's starting to identify, like, here's shoes, here's backpacks you might be interested, here's first aid, hiking, like those review content, whatever, those are great content. But when you then start to pull it together for people and you're like, well, if you're on a budget, but you want great hiking gear, I recommend you get these shoes and this thing, and you're pulling it all together. You're doing the work for them. You're making those connections. You're creating that consistency. You're creating a feeling of trust with your people by helping them, in what you're doing. And then consistency, like I said, is a huge part of creating systems. When you're consistent, it becomes easier to do the next right thing. So if you have that plan, like we talked about with these posts, and you've got this list, like, okay, I was going to do shoes next. Oh, I was going to do backpacks next. It's easier to be consistent. When you sit down your computer to do a blog post, you're not like, what the heck am I going to write about today? What the heck am I going to do today? How am I going to link this to what I've already done? You've already got the plan. So that's why having these systems are so important. And it helps you to also then gain credibility, gain authority, be seen by Google as an expert with your helpful information, be seen by your people as helpful. It helps you to, notch off the experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. That's the EEAT that Google is looking for. All of that becomes easier when you do that sharpen step right. And then finally, the sell step is where you monetize, where you look at multiple ways of bringing money into your website, so that you are able to weather the storms of, oh, people aren't really buying this right now. okay, I'll focus more on that. But when you have multiple ways of monetization, it gives you a little more flexibility. And this path, it doesn't necessarily, it hopefully should feel like it's doable, like it's fairly simple and straight. Like, because honestly, it looks so super easy. And, this is literally what it takes to build a great blog. But honestly, so many people struggle with this. And you want to think about, well, why is it that people struggle? And honestly, it's because their brains get in the way. Why do we always stab ourselves in the foot? Why can't we get out of our own way to do this? Like if it's this easy, why don't we just do it? But here's the thing, there's easy and then there's simple. Like you can see that it's a simple, easy process, simple to understand, but not necessarily easy to do what we need to do, especially when we let our head get in the way, when we doubt ourselves, when we think about, well, gosh, am I good enough? Is this whatever? Like those are the things that we talk about when we talk about you're excited to get started, but then you stumble and pause and those kinds of things. So as you kind of think about this, you want to think about like, okay, what are the costs of overwhelm? What are the costs? What am I losing out on when I don't have the clarity, the focus, the momentum? You want that traffic, you want that momentum, you want the results. And monetization is a huge part of kind of giving you that follow through, like, rewarding you for the work that you've done. So when we talk about monetization, we're not just talking about one source. You want to create multiple modes of monetization, multiple modes of income generation. This can be affiliates, this can be products, this can be courses, this can be coaching, this can be ads. There's numerous ways that you can make money online, but if all of your eggs are in one basket and there's either an algorithm shift or something changes unexpectedly, you could potentially, stand to lose a lot more than you might like. So we always talk about lots of different ways to monetize, but at its core, you want to focus on creating great content and then following that up with, well, since they now know you're a great and useful and helpful person, what else can they do to follow that journey? And monetization is kind of the path for that. So let's look at this simple hiking example. So we've got hiking shoes, backpacks, all of these can be monetized with affiliate links, right? You can also put together a set of products like first aid kits and have an affiliate link on that. You can add a product where you show people how to use first aid kits, where you show people how to do the hiking thing. So there's lots of different ways that you can monetize with literally any topic. And you want to strategically build each of these areas out as you go forward with your blogging. So, that this definitely could be you. We've got some really great effective blog examples. Like everybody starts with nothing. So here's some really good examples of bloggers who have created phenomenal results. So Create and Go, they've got really great blog. Amira Law, I think she makes around $75,000 a month. Lindsay and Bork, 90,000 plus a month with Pinch of Yum. And like there's lots of great examples. Like you've got a pathway to follow, and it's, the world is before you in terms of how you can benefit and what you can do with where you're headed. So all right. So how clear are you on these areas? This is what your homework is to kind of go through and map out your clarity and your confidence in these core areas. And so I'd love for you to after we're done today, hop into the course platform and kind of go through and just think through these. It's going to be great for you to kind of have that self-assessment, like, oh, I guess I'm stronger in that than I hadn't really thought through that or hadn't really thought through this. And it's okay to be a one. Like a one is a really great place to start, right? So you just kind of want to rank things on that 1 to 5 scale. So, all right. And then are there any questions so far? Whoops. Are there any questions so far? I talked really fast, I think, today. So let me think here. Is there anything that you guys would like to go deeper on topically?
Yeah,
Uh,
you were a little bit on the
I know.
times two button today.
I know. I've got lots of really great content for tomorrow. Um, and so trying to think here. There's a couple of things that I've dropped out just because of time. from previous ones. Let me think which one would be good to include here. Where would you guys say, maybe drop in the chat just so I can make sure to filter this to who's here. Drop in the chat kind of where you're at on a scale of 1 to 5. Like 1 is like I'm a newer blogger and 5 is like I've been doing this a while. Give me a 1 to 5, where 1 is like I need more help. I'm kind of on the newer side, and a 5 is where, okay, so we've got literally a whole range. Okay. So for those of you, we've talked about okay, Susan says I'm brand new. So part of my ignorance, how am I monetizing products other than driving them, monetizing other than driving them to my products? That's a really great question. So websites are fantastic for monetizing in a lot of different ways. So your website is basically like your platform, your space, your opportunity to be able to bring people into your world to show how you are the expert and how you can help them. And when you build that trust, when you build that pathway for them to get to know you, when you're sending them emails saying, hey, remember me, I've got this great information about this particular topical area. Um, the the path that you're creating is for them to want to go deeper with you, for them to want to learn more from you. And so monetization can be advertising. Usually those are on higher volume sites. You've seen ads on some of the sites that you've been on, I'm sure. A lot of times people are either really hot, like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to bring in, literally thousands of dollars a month for doing nothing extra beyond just my blog and having the ads available to people. Other people are like, it's too distracting. I'm a coach. I don't want people looking at ads. I want them focused on my topic, whatever it is. And so ads are one way. Another monetization avenue is you can do products. So you can do where you make printable things and you sell them like as PDFs. You can do the best way to do it is if you're able to help create some kind of transformation in what you're providing. It can be as simple as giving them a transformative, like, okay, I used to struggle with this and now I know how to do it. Think a good example might be you're trying to potty train a little kid, right? They're really struggling. What can you do to give them these moms who are really struggling with their kids who can't be potty trained? What can you give them to get them to the point of, everything's peaceful. My kid just knows how to go, knows what to do. How can you help them on that journey? Now change that to your niche. What are the problems that are making your people pull their hair out, that are making your people go, gosh, I wish I had this figured out, that are making your people have issues, have problems, have just consternation? Think about that, and then think about what you can do to help them with that problem. And so there's a lot of different avenues, a lot of different ways that you can look at that. If you guys want to drop a niche in the chat, I'd be happy to kind of talk through like just some different ideas based on your different niche ideas. But there's so many different things that you can do, whether it be coaching one-on-one, whether it be coaching in a group, whether it be, providing calls or, those sorts of things, answering questions, be having support in that way. So relocation for expats is one of them. For that one's going to take a little bit more thinking because I know you've messaged a little bit about like, not necessarily knowing how to connect. So let me double back on that one. Food and restaurant reviews, says Deanna. So yeah, food and restaurant reviews. Food in particular is really great for ads because you have typically a higher volume. So that's a great way. Restaurant reviews can be really good, especially if your website is focused on a particular area. Like if you're doing Northeast or New York or Southwest or San Francisco, or like having that kind of specificity, you might think, oh my gosh, that's a smaller space. But when you have that smaller space, you then have those people know that you're the expert in that. Whereas if you're trying to do restaurant reviews all over the United States, you're not going to get that following because people don't, they're not around all of the things that you're mentioning. So it's going to be a little bit harder path. So that's again where having that specific path to where you're headed with things is going to be a little bit easier for you to monetize. So building performance and renewable energy is another one. So Dorothy, that's a great topic. So building performance and renewable energy, what I would say to do would be you want to think about who your audience is. So if you're thinking like construction building performance, I would say your audience is going to be either consumers who are looking at their homes and making them more effective. That would be an affiliate thing, I would say, and professional, companies and getting their commercial buildings more higher performance. That's definitely something that you could do a consulting type of situation with individual businesses and work at that direction. So there's definitely a lot that you could do. Deanna says, yes, Raleigh, North Carolina area. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, good. Glad that that helped with the food question, Deanna. Okay, so Susan says my niche is printables in particular stationery, trying to find ways to drive traffic, but I have no idea what I would blog about. So what you want to think about is, okay, you've got printables. Who are your main people? Like, is it moms? Is it like what are the problems that they have issues with? What are the things that you can solve? So with stationery, where you're going to have the most effectiveness is by getting really super deep into, okay, well, my stationery is for moms who are busy and just can't, need help getting organized. Okay, then you can think about, well, what kinds of things do moms need? Like they need a way to look at schedules quickly. They need to be able to prioritize all of the things. They need a place to organize all of the sports things, all of that. Like think through and find micro solutions for the little things that people have problems with. And that's, I think, where you're going to get more process, more traction. And then you are creating blog content that talks about, gosh, I get how it's so busy after school and you need help figuring out how to get your kids a snack fast. Here are some of my favorite snacks. And oh, by the way, I've got this ebook where you can, write down your favorite snacks, and it's got some ones to start you out with. And so you're able to kind of have that pathway that you're following. So anyway, so wedding invitations, general invites, Susie says. So lots of different things that you can do. So Susan says, gotcha, thank you. Okay, good. Good, good, good. Stephanie says, I coach women combating biases on the job and in business. How can I reach them and monetize? So I'm assuming you're meaning like corporate women who are dealing with biases and feeling slighted on the job and in business, if I'm reading that correctly. So reaching them and monetizing, what you want to do is kind of lean into what are their pain points? Like what are the things that cause them the most consternation, the most problems, the most issues? And what are the things that are so when you're solving a problem with that you want to monetize, you want to solve a problem that they're very much aware of. You may recognize that the longer solution is to do X, Y, and Z, which is going to help them with this bigger problem. But they're most aware of the fact that they're having a problem with people treating them whatever at the coffee, at the water table or whatever specific little instance. So you want to get clear on what the biggest Band-Aid problem is that they're having right now and provide a solution for that. Once you start to provide solutions for those things, once you start to show that you know what they're talking about, that you know the problems that they're having, that you know how to solve their issues, then it's going to make it easier for you to get that pathway towards building their trust, towards giving them the results that they need towards the longer term solution. And a lot of times what people will do is they will offer a program, that may be 6 or 8 weeks or maybe even a longer period of time that starts to solve that first problem. And then when they've got that first problem solved, then you can talk to them about, well, now that we've got this initial problem solved, here's the longer solution that's going to give you the better longer term results. Or you solve the problem that they're most aware of while also solving at least a little bit of the bigger problem that they're not necessarily aware of or wanting to pay for, but is the solution that they need. So there's a couple of different ways that you can kind of do that. Hopefully that kind of helps. A lot of times with coaching, yeah, you're talking about coaching women So you're already doing the coaching thing. So yeah, I would say reaching them um is going to be a matter of thinking about what groups they're already in, where they already organize and gather online. So if especially for professional women, it's going to be LinkedIn. It's going to be sharing your message there. It's going to be connecting with people in groups that are talking about having problems and being a resource when someone says, "Gosh, this just happened." Oh, messaging back and saying, gosh, I'm really not even pushing yourself, but just being that person who's the resource for them. And usually that conversations will flow from that. So yeah. All right. So a checklist, Jen suggests, so regarding the expats, a checklist for temporary moves, or for a permanent move. Yeah, there's some really great ideas coming up here for that topic. I love that. So yeah, the biggest thing is that you really want to, when you're thinking about monetization, you want to think about the solutions that are most going to make an impact for your people. Because even when people don't have money, they have money to solve the problems that are causing them the most problems, right? You think about it. If you're that mom who can't figure out how in the heck to get their kid potty trained, just take my money and get it solved, right? It doesn't the price, the problem, the way to resolve it is not like the solution is so much better than whatever that interim stuff is. So anyway, all right. So we've talked a little bit about Google. Would you guys like to do a little bit of keyword deep diving? Again, I'm going to keep it not technical so that those who are new can certainly follow along. I've got a yes, so all right, we'll go with that. Good. Okay. So um when you're thinking of topical ideas, one of the things that you want to do is get an idea. And we talked a little bit about this previously. Let me just get this queued up here. We talked a little bit about this previously, where you've got a topical idea that you're like, gosh, I need to think of some ideas about what to create content about. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to do, not sure what topics to cover. Not sure what my people are interested in. Like, I know what I want to do, but I'm not sure. So what you can do is there's a couple of things. One of the things you can do is, come on, screen share. Okay. So one of the things you can do is to go into Google and take your topic and do a quick general search related to that topic. And you might think, well, that's kind of basic. Why are we doing that? But there's so much that you can get out of this. So, all right, I'm going to go with, oopsies. Sorry, my computer screens are wonky. Okay. I'm going to go with the expat idea. So when you think about expats, you've got some things that come up here. No, this is not an area that I have much knowledge in. I'll just be completely upfront about. But you think about, okay, so you've got this. As you're doing your thing, you can add like an A, a B, a C, and so there must be and again, not having a strong background in this. Cost of living, communities in Mexico, communities. So you can go through the alphabet and kind of do this sort of thing. And that can be a really great way to do that. There's another tool that I like to look at called Keyword Sheeter. And the nice part about Keyword Sheeter is that it will actually take you and take your idea and be able to, come on, and give you lots of ideas, like just rapidly spitting out the idea. And so you can take and see it, like There are things you would never think about that it's gonna spit out. So this can be a really good tool for giving you some topical ideas for your blogging. Are you seeing how this can be really helpful? And it's like um lots of different things can come up. So I'm gonna just switch topics here. It's gonna work better if I redo the page. Um, and Wayne asks about capturing and building an email list. So I can definitely talk about that as well. So I'll do that here in just a bit. Um, so if we go with the stationery, and do a search, it will inherently take things like stationery, like not intentional things that aren't what you quite meant. So then you'll go, okay, well, let me think of. Now, I use AI to oftentimes get ideas and oops, not that one. Cadence, by the way, is a really good platform if you're ever looking for what to use for a website. Um, so, um, so if I do a search, Um, and I say, okay, I want to create content related to stationery paper and am looking for themes to follow. And then just let it kind of create an idea list. As you're kind of getting accustomed to it, you're able to kind of look through and go, well, this looks good or this doesn't look good, and kind of get some ideas for what to do. And you can see here, like, oh, I didn't think about bullet journaling. I mean, yes, obviously I'm aware of it, but didn't think about it. So you can think of some different things and then kind of hone in on one that kind of jumps out at you. So, like, what are the pain points of someone who um, needs stationery? Can I spell today? So if you don't get an answer that's helpful, just ask another question. Quality concerns, limited variety, inconsistency with paper quality. So you can see some of the pain points that you'd want to talk about if you're providing actual purchasable, mailable stationery. And so I want to create a, say, we'll just say a journal. What are some themes that I could use that would solve a problem for a specific person? So are you seeing, like, when you talk about a niche like stationery, how it's very much like why we're struggling right now, is because the audience isn't clear. Are you hearing that? Like, we're not clear on, like, you've got the, I want to do it on stationery, but is it stationery for relationship building? Is it stationery for creative writing? Is it stationery for academic success? Like, when you know who you're helping, that's when you can dive deeper into that. And you can have a website that's focused on stationery, but then you've got to kind of figure out, well, okay, how do I create content that reflects the needs of all of the people that come to my site? So if you're talking about career development, fitness, new parenting, and grief all on the same thing, well, what do you create for your email content? How do you reach your audience so they feel heard? Right. And so the more you're able to like create topics that are kind of consistently similar, then you're able to speak to your people more clearly. So all right. So hopefully this kind of helps kind of give you some ideas on how to use things, some of these different tools, and just kind of get your brain kind of thinking and working through what some of the options are. I mentioned Koala. It's a really, really great tool for they actually will do even draft blog posts. I think they give you some some tools for free. Koala will pull from a couple of different sources. So it's just the reason I like it is because it is a it is a great tool that that was created for bloggers. And so it's something that it makes it so that it's it's easier to like they do blog post writing and stuff like that as well. And then you can kind of use that line of thinking. So yeah. So there was a question about emails and creating an email list and why and how you'd want to go about doing that. So emailing is like blogging is so beneficial because it helps bring people into your world and helps them to like get to know you and get to know how you do things. But emailing really is kind of hand in hand, critically important for blogging because when you think about it, if you create great content and people only can come to your website when they remember that, oh yeah, I found great content on this topic on this site, they're going to be in front of you a fraction of the time than if you would be able to email them and say, hey, I have a new blog post. Hey, I have a new this. Hey, I have a new that. Hey, I've created a product that I think might help you. Would you be interested? That allows you to reach them and to connect with them. And so the way email works is you need to have what's called an email service provider. There's a variety of different ones. If you're just getting started, one of the best ones for new people, honestly, is MailerLite. MailerLite is a great free platform for a decent amount of people on your email list. It has automations included. ConvertKit is also a good one, but their automations are not included in their free tier, so you have to go to a paid tier for that to work. So yeah, so there's a variety of different avenues, different options, but when you think about email, the thing that you want to kind of keep in mind is that you want to create a way to reach out and connect to your people. So you want to provide an opportunity to grow your email list because when you're growing your email list, this is the audience that's with you long term. This is the audience that's going to come back over and over again because you're going to remind them that you exist. You're going to remind them of how beneficial you are. And so that's one of the benefits of having an email list is that you're able to really show on an ongoing basis and remind them so that they can build those connections. So all right, we've got some chat about different things related to AI. Um, there's Claude, Perplexity. There's so many different AI tools, and it doesn't really matter what you use or even if you use one. It's just a matter of finding your pathway and finding your system and what works for you. And when you feel like, gosh, I can't figure it out, finding out what that process is to get back on track. So yeah. All right. So has anyone had any questions that came up at this point? Dennis says, I like playing around with AI and finding new ones is fun. Absolutely. Yeah. Have you guys all been able to get access and get into the course platform? Is that working out good for you? The it's Experientify, so it's a little bit newer platform. We've been using it now for a few times. Margie said she can get on. Good, 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 good. So fantastic. All right. So you can't get on. Okay. If you want to direct message your email address to me, Margie, I can message you your magic link. So anyone not able to get in, just direct message or email or hit reply on any of the emails, and I will send you your link to get in. Perfect. So yeah, no problem. Okay, so one of the other tools that I often talk about is Uber Suggest. Have you guys done much with Uber Suggest? Is that something that's kind of a newer thing for you? Is anyone interested in learning a little bit about Uber Suggest? Haven't used it before. Okay. So let me log in and we'll just talk a little bit about Uber Suggest. don't want it to know it is. So yes. Okay. And we've got some that have used it, some that haven't. So perfect. Yeah, this is a nice tool. It's a keyword tool that can help you to get started into figuring out SEO and figuring out keywords. One of the things that I don't like about keyword tools is that a lot of them are kind of expensive, and especially for newer bloggers, you're not really sure what you want to do and how you want to do it. And, the monthly cost of things can really add up. Especially when you're like, I don't know that I'm using it all that much right now. So what I like about Uber Suggest is that they have a couple of searches that you can do, I think 3 every day for free. And then beyond that, you can do a paid plan. I don't remember the exact prices, but I want to say it's around 30 bucks a month. And the paid plan gives you more ideas, more results, that kind of stuff. And it allows you to go a little bit deeper, but they have a pay one-time option as well, so like a lifetime deal related to that. So, but this is Uber Suggest. It has a lot of depth to it. I'm not going to cover it nearly comprehensively today just because of the factor of time, but one of the main things that we oftentimes use it for is related to searching by keywords. And so oh, my computer's slow. Google will do that, or uh, sharing with Zoom will do that. So if we take and we do, I'm just gonna go. So, does anyone have an idea you want me to do? Feel free to drop that in the chat. So Sophie's saying, or sorry, Stephanie's saying, should I add my blog to my existing website or create a separate website for the blog? You want your website to be on your blog and your website to be on the same platform. So you would just add your blog to your existing website. Um, how do you turn keywords into post ideas, says Vanetta. That's a great question. Diana says do branding. Okay, perfect. Let's go with branding. So we're going to do branding as a topic, and we're going to hit search. And so this will give us a list of ideas related to a particular topic. And so we've got branding itself, and then there's lots of numbers here. You don't have to pay attention to all of them. The ones you want to pay attention to is the volume, like how many people are searching each month, and the search difficulty. When you break it down into difficulty, there's 3 different categories. There's easy, medium, and hard. As a new blogger, you would focus on easy, so you'd choose 0 to 35. And then, assuming the computer's cooperating, you would hit apply. And that's going to narrow it down to show you just the words that are in the search difficulty of 0 to 35, plus your initial word. So you can see there's, oftentimes it has different things that might or might not be helpful. When you get into the more lower SEO difficulties, it gets sometimes a little bit harder, especially in some niches. Other niches, not so much, but it just kind of depends. But you can see like branding, logo design, branding manager. There's different things that you could look at. So let's just go with like branding yourself as a general idea. So if you're like, I kind of like this idea, really high difficulty, so I wouldn't necessarily do it for a brand new website, but let's just go a little bit deeper and look at what we're looking at. So these are the search volumes each month. So you can see like in June, there was a higher volume. It drops off a little, kind of goes up and down. You can see like a lot of different information related to it. We've got these different keyword ideas that's going to populate. And so like these are where you take that branding yourself. This is where someone had asked about how do you come up with the long tail keywords? Well, this is one way. Another way is just by taking that branding yourself idea and then doing that ABC. So A, what comes up with that? B, what comes up with that? C, is there anything that pops for that? And so that can be done. You can also take that branding yourself and put that into your keyword sheeter, and that's going to give you a lot of good ideas that relate to that keyword. So that's kind of how you make that transition. Does that make sense? Branding iron is actually also a restaurant. So Dana said branding iron cracked me up a bit. Branding yourself as a solopreneur on a budget yeah, that would be probably a long tail keyword. And so with long tail keywords, you may or may not, find that a lot of people are looking for that particular long tail keyword, but you're going to rank for even shorter phrases related to that. So as your site gains authority, as you're providing helpful content, as you're getting backlinks and that sort of stuff, you'll find that it's easier to rank for things that are harder terms. So even though early on, branding yourself as a solopreneur on a budget might have a lower number of searches, like maybe 10 or 20 or 100 a month, as you are getting more and more content out there, as you're ranking higher, it'll be easier to rank for phrases like branding yourself as a solopreneur, whereas early on, you'd be hard to be found with content on that phrase because you're just a newer blogger. Does that make sense? So Susie says you can break it into many different pieces. Yeah, absolutely. And Susie says branding is good because there's so much to it. And honestly, any topic that you think about, there is a lot to it. Like there's a lot of different components. We were talking about just like a simple thing, like a 2-ingredient thing that we were talking about. Well, how would you even come up with content that's like even 500 words related to this 2-ingredient thing? And it's like, well, let's think about that for a minute. If you have those 2 ingredients, what if you change the brand of one of those ingredients? What if you change and swap out one of those ingredients? What if you add a third ingredient? Like, so if you start to think about it, even the most basic of concepts, you can come up with a lot of different ideas and options and variations that meet a specific need. But it ultimately comes down to getting to know your audience and what kinds of problems they have, what kinds of solutions they're looking for, what kinds of issues they have, and creating content that resonates with them. When you do that, everything else becomes easier. It's so much easier to focus when you know what you're doing and how you're helping people, how you're answering questions, what the tone is, where you're headed with things. If you know, like going from the onset, like I'm going to be doing coaching, well, then all of your content is going to be pointing out to them, how you get the problems that they're in. You understand where they are, and you understand where they want to be and how this is something that is going to be beneficial and that it's doable and reachable and that you're the perfect person to help them. You see how that little bit of clarity on like, here's how we're monetizing helps all of your stuff from every email to every blog post have that slightly different angle to it so that everything points to where you want them to go. Does that make sense? Yeah. Diana says it all weaves together like a plaid. Exactly. Exactly. And that's why, we start out with what we've talked about each of these days leading up till now, because it is something that when you create that foundation, right? When you create, stop and slow down and think about, well, what do my people need help with? What are the things that I need to consider? What are the things that they want help with, what they have problems with? How can I create content that really does speak to them, that answers those questions, that solves their needs? That's when it makes it easier to create great content. So, and Susie is our branding expert. She's branding logos and designs a passion of hers. She says she has 2.5 degrees in that. Dorothy says magic link is expired. So I will, I can message that or email that to you, Dorothy. So no problem. Perfect. Dennis says it's so much fun. I really enjoy doing logos. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do with branding for sure. Well, guys, just a little bit of a preview into tomorrow. We have a packed packed with information day tomorrow. And super excited. There's so much great stuff we're going to cover tomorrow. I was working on just like going through that last night, and it's so exciting. So definitely you'll want to be here for that. And yeah, there's so much that you can do with blogging. There's so much opportunity available. There's so many great ways that you can reach your people, solve their problems, and they are so excited to get help, to get the resources, to get the guidance that you want to be able to provide, that you want to be able to give them. Um, and so it's just a matter of, having your blog be that connecting point between you and your ideal people, between their problems and your solutions. And when you get that part right, everything else falls into alignment. So, link to the day 3 slides. Absolutely. Thank you for that reminder. Give me just a second and I will pull that up. Bum. Once in a while, I have too many tabs open.
I feel
And
that about my brain.
yeah, there's this tool. What is it even called? That lets me narrow down quickly. Just a second. And of course, I've got it's this one. All right. Yes. Okay. So this is the one I want. And let me just get that link. So feel free to drop in the chat kind of what your takeaways or aha moments were today. Love always hearing those. And all right. Okay, view link. Okay, all right. I'm going to drop this in the chat for you here, and you'll be set to go. Okay, so the link is, whoops, need to give that to everyone. Okay, so the link is now there, so you should be able to grab that. Precious says your approach takes away the overwhelm. I'm excited. Good. I love that. I love that. That's honestly what really motivates me to help bloggers. Noelle says, love the new tools you showed us. That'll save me some time. Awesome. Dorothy says, take action. Start writing those blogs. Absolutely. Mary Vaughn says, thank you. Appreciate the fabulous, important and necessary information. Great. Diana says, my browser's a ton of tabs open right now. A self-reflection of what's going on in my head. I get it. Yeah. So, all right. Okay. And Dorothy, I will send those to you separately. So, perfect. Awesome. All right. Any final questions before we head off into the sunset? Well, not quite, because we'll be back tomorrow, right? But anyone has any other questions about before we move on with the rest of our day? Let me just make sure I'm just grabbing the link here. Okay. Jill says, thanks. It's been helpful being reminded of how a clear audience and niche will make creating content easier. Yes, absolutely. Diana says she signed up for Uber Suggest. Awesome. Find micro solutions to help your tribe, says Stephanie. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Love these. Okay. Yeah, thank you guys. All right. Well, have yourselves a fantastic day. We'll be back here tomorrow. You're definitely going to love everything we're covering tomorrow. So you'll want to make sure to set your clock, set an alarm. So you make sure to join us, and we will see you then. All right. Thank you all.